Tim Tebow.
That's how we warming up.
Is reportedly in talks to sign with the Jacksonville Jaguars via his former head coach, Urban Meyer. Do you love this move or do you hate it?
I'm not going to come out and say I'm loving the move, but I do respect the opportunity that Tim Tebow is going to take to try to chase this opportunity again. And we've seen his career, from football to obviously going to baseball, dabbling back and forth, being in the booth. He's written books. He's a business owner. He's got his own foundation. And, when you look at what everything that Tim Tebow's been through in his career, a move like this doesn't necessarily surprise you, because when the guy played baseball in 2005 and then tried to do it again in 2016, it's like, okay, he likes to take these gaps and leap back into it. But more than anything, like I said, the fact that he's taken the opportunity and the fact that he's staying committed, the fact that he's going to stay passionate in what he truly wants to do and chase this spot. And a lot of people out here saying, oh, he can't get over the fame. He just wants to continually be at the spotlight. And I highly disagree with that, because I'm not going to sit here and say that Tim Tebow needs sports. He wants sports. Like I said, the guy's written 5 books. He's a 4-time bestseller. Obviously, New York Times bestseller. He owns a business. He's got a foundation. He's a public speaker. Like, he's much more than sports. He helps produce films. He's been in the, in the film room, obviously, like with ESPN on college football, whatever the case may be. And like, we know Tim Tebow is a jack of all trades. And I understand, a lot of people are out there saying this is tough for people that are trying to get a roster spot and you're bringing a guy back, from 9 years. And it's like, wow. And I'm not going to sit here and say that Urban Meyer isn't a big reason why he's going to get this shot. But at the end of the day, if he still did work out, because let's also put this into perspective. Do you think Urban Meyer, with the reputation that he has, just taking the #1 overall pick in Trevor Lawrence, the end-all be-all in the NFL draft, the craziest draft we've seen in the last, I don't know how many years, especially when it comes to quarterbacks, a guy like T-Law in the room, as much cap space as he did, I don't think he would go and sign a bonehead player. Like, yes, I know Tebow wasn't successful in the NFL at quarterback, and this guy's not a tight end. He's not used to having hands put on him. But people are acting like Tebow's already got the job. Like, he's the tight end one. He's going to be out there trying to fight for these fantasy points. Like, no, it actually, if you quote it, Urban says, we'll give it a shot. Literally, we'll give it a shot. He's still got to make the roster. They still have to come to terms on a deal. Like, Urban has been saying, yeah, this is just something that we're exploring. So I'm not going to say I love the move, but I definitely respect it. I think Tebow deserves his respect for being able to go now. And yeah, it's okay, bogus. He's playing tight end, but still something he wants to chase, still wants to take the opportunity. So, all right, go for it.
You say it's bogus. He's playing tight end. He's not a quarterback.
Well, there you go.
He's not an NFL quarterback.
No, absolutely.
He's not an NFL player of any position anymore. He never played any other position. So the fact that he's coming in to try to play tight end is laughable.
Right.
It's ridiculous. He shouldn't even begin to try out at that spot. Anything that we have tape on is all him playing quarterback, albeit he ran more than he passed because he couldn't throw.
Right.
He didn't play that position.
Yeah.
You can't just walk back in and do that.
Right.
It's not like it's Randy Moss, who was running a 4.2 and played wide receiver and decided after 6 years away from the game, he wants to come back. And he's like, hey, I still run a 4.4.
Right.
I just want to get out on the outside and run a go route.
Yeah.
He could probably do that.
Yeah.
You were not a good quarterback, and now you're going to play tight end? Mm-hmm. He's not that big.
You're going to put your hand in the dirt and have someone put hands on you?
Now he's supposed to be blocking people. Like, the dude hasn't taken a regular season snap since December of 2012. Mm-hmm. It's been a long time. I mean, that whole 2011 season, which got all that fanfare, where everyone was like, oh, it's Tebow Mania. Tebow Mania was very similar to Linsanity. You remember that little 10-game stretch?
Oh, my goodness.
Yes, you played against either, like, the Linsanity thing was kind of more so the weak competition. He just so happened to get up there against and not play against any point guards. Tim Tebow's situation, they led the league in rushing, dead last in passing. He was not throwing the football. It was a defense that was stopping people, and they were running the football, eating the clock. In those 11 games, they went 7-4. Everyone loves to tell you just how they do that. They scored less than 20 points in 8 of them. They were not scoring points.
In 8 of those 11 games?
They were just stopping them. Yes, 8 of those 11 games were 18 or less. They weren't putting up points at all. It was just them he handed the ball off.
Right.
He was 46%. Like, his completion percentage is god-awful.
So he's averaging NFL history.
150 yards per game and 1 touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about he deserves a shot at what? He had his time. He went to the Jets and couldn't even get the 3rd-string position where he's back behind Mark Sanchez and Matt Barkley. Like, are you serious?
Right.
Neither of these dudes would you talk about in any circles of like, oh, these are really good NFL quarterbacks. I mean, Mark Sanchez did have a little bit more success, and he had a lot more sustained time.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if you couldn't beat out Mac Barkley, I mean, he's younger than you. He's not in the league anymore.
Right.
And he can throw way better than you.
Right.
Like, I don't understand where he gets off with this. I mean, he went to New England in 2013, played 3 preseason games, got cut, went into the booth with the SEC Network, did that for about a year and a half.
Yep.
Then he decided, all of a sudden, I had dreams of playing baseball. You mentioned 2005. He was a junior in a high school.
Right, that's
we
what I'm
act
saying.
like it was, like he played professional baseball earlier or something. Like, no. He played multiple sports in high school, as did most athletes.
Right.
So now that was your dream. Your dream was to be an NFL quarterback, and you weren't good enough to do it. Now all of a sudden your dream is to play in the majors. You weren't good enough to do it.
Right.
So now after your 5-year sputtered out, multiple injury-ridden baseball career, all of a sudden now you want to come back to the NFL and to play a different position? They told you to play tight end before you left.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden you got the humility to do it. If he had tried then, he'd have still been in NFL shape. You haven't played NFL football at any level, at least for 6 years. I mean, we'll give you 6 because you were with Philadelphia back in 2015, even though he didn't actually make that roster. He was just there in the preseason.
Yep.
So 6 years, you haven't you haven't taken a snap, you haven't been hit, you haven't done anything. You think you can just walk back out there with these guys and do that?
Right.
Like, the fact that he's even getting a look and getting all this attention is ridiculous to me.
Well, Tebow's an attention getter. I mean, when you think about all the times that, like, I'll credit Cowherd right here. He said it perfectly. When the numbers fall short, Tebow's one of those people that will make waves, and he'll move it because of what the media put on him. He was in the media a lot his entire career, and his religion played a lot into it. Like, when you literally, if you Google Tim Tebow, one of the first links is about his religion or his Christianity. And another thing I want to address is the same people that are telling him to play tight end and told him 8-9 years ago. So here's the thing. Tebow didn't conform because he didn't believe that was the path for him. So now that he's taking it, now the same people are going to complain. And here's also another thing. Let's not act like player and coach relationships don't play into a lot of the NFL. We just don't hear about it all the time because there's not a guy like Tebow who's got all the media attention around him. You know that when players come in, there's always a player-coach relationship. It ain't got to be no super tight, but obviously, like, if you think about the relationship between a head coach and a quarterback, or with obviously a personnel coach in whatever position it is, they're going to have some rapport. Now, yes, like I said, it's not going to be, potentially Tebow and Meyer rapport. And like I said, I'm not going to sit here and say that that's not going to weigh into some of the decision making. But the thing for me is I've never been a person to take away from someone's opportunity. And that's why I was saying the other day, and I know y'all were grilling me about passion, but this is the point where when your talent starts to fall short, I mean, think about it. When some people they'll get a big job, and you might hear the CEO or a higher up say, yeah, they might be a C plus, maybe B worker, but they got an A plus attitude, and they got A plus commitment and passion because they come in every day knowing that that's what they want to do. And it throws a lot of people off because, okay, like you said, college, you can only speak of Tebow's greatness in college, nothing really in baseball, nothing in football. And then when he comes back to this, it's like, okay, I mean, it throws you for a loop. So I totally get where you're coming from there.
Yeah, I mean, that whole passion thing, it really grinds my gears. Like, how are we giving him credit for passion? Are we seriously to act here and act like he's the only passionate player that's ever played football? Like, his passion is going to take him over the top.
And see, that's another thing is I'm not saying Tebow's, I'll give you an honest opinion. I don't think he's going to be good at tight end. We've never seen this before. We've seen all the highlights of him running the little out route from the Jets and having the ball go off his helmet. Like, we know what to expect. I will give Tebow, I'll be shocked if he plays half the season. I really will. But like I said, my whole initial argument was, I'm not going to take away from him. I'm not going to take away from what he's tried to do his entire career because I have a lot of that same personality. Like me being 23 years old, I'm still going in a few different directions. Like obviously this is my spot, but I'm trying to dabble into real estate. I'm trying to dabble into cryptocurrency. And when you can still have that drive and commitment to want to be multifaceted, Tebow's just in the spotlight. He's been this guy that's made waves. And realistically, I'll go ahead and say it, like Tebow's situation is not extremely unusual. Like yes, the quarterback to tight end. Yeah. But if we're talking about bouncing around in careers, like we're going to judge a 35-year-old man because he hasn't made up his mind yet. The dude's still young. You know what I mean? That was my whole point where I was coming from, is everybody want to take away from him. And I'm not like that, because these guys out here at the end of the day, they got to work hard. They're athletes. They have to earn their spot. And that's exactly where I was coming from.
Nobody's saying he can't do multiple things. Like, you named off about 15 different things that he does. Do all of those and not play football.
Why, though? Why can't you just give him the football, too?
I'll listen to him as a broadcaster, but not watch him play. You're not good enough to play at the NFL level. We've seen it.
Friendly petty push-ups bet here.
What is your bet?
I don't know. I want to put something up. I literally just thought of this. Do you think Tebow lasts 6 weeks of the position if he gets the job?
I think he gets hurt.
Think he gets hurt? So if he goes out before 6 weeks, it'll be because of injury?
Yeah, like he's not built for it anymore. 6
Right.
years out, and then you're going to come in and actually be taking a literal punishing?
Right, having hands put on you. So, okay, we'll go to this. You think Tebow loses it because of injury?
Yeah.
I think he loses it because of not performing. There we go. Whatever it happens to, we'll put 20 on it. Not a little light stuff at 10. You know, we had to get warmed up on the show. We'll go with 20. Is that fair?
I mean, I don't think he's making the roster, but if he gets on, just because he's a spectacle.
Maybe that would be the better one. Does he even make the roster? Like, is he even going to show up? So, yeah, like you said, man.
He got his name in the news. You know, he's a borderline attention seeker. He doesn't have all the symptoms of attention-seeking behavior, but he's on the cusp.
I get what you're saying. And like I said, I understand where you're coming from. I just don't think it's a point where, because like I said, Tebow's written books. He's got a business. He's got his foundation. He loves to speak. Like, he's got a hell of a marketing team behind him. You know, that's what I'm saying.
You pubbing him out. Somebody's about to go look his books up. Attention-seeking.
Why, though? Why can't you just do the football, too? Oh, man.
It's about to happen.
Well, we got started off hot tonight.
It's ridiculous, man.
Timothy Tebow from the tip top.
I'm all the way against it. No Tebow.
I'm not here for it.
Look at that. Let's see the graphic up there. He did nothing.
I will credit it to him, though. So, look, we see the baseball up there. I actually did go through some of his baseball stats because I was curious. I'm not going to lie. I never watched a guy in baseball. Hit 194, then 220, then up to 231. Then actually was going to have a little bit of a turnaround at 273. Then he fell back down to 163 and announced his retirement. So, I mean, at least he kind of did better in baseball than the NFL, but that's not saying much, you know, considering he never made an MLB team. It was always like AA, AAA, like other leagues, you know. So, but yeah, man.
Well, I mean, I will say this, just because we talked about his 2011 season, I have plenty of gripes with him. That 2011 season, he went 7-4 in his 11 games. He won the one playoff game. Everybody's had the whole rundown, so we don't even need to give all of the extras about that. But then they brought in Peyton Manning.
Yep.
And then he had the most historic season in the history of the NFL scoring-wise. Tim Tebow was driving a Lamborghini like an old woman.
Yep.
Why are you like, get out the fast lane?
Yeah.
He had that thing
Put your blinker
going
on.
70 miles an hour. Peyton came in there and took it clean over 100.
Oh, yeah.
He had that roster, and he held it back.
Yeah.
So for as much as what anyone can say he did, like, oh, he's a winner, he did this, he held that team back.
Yeah.
It's very
That's why he lost
similar.
his job.
It's very similar, if you want to give it a parallel, if we were to talk about Matt Castle. Mm-hmm. Everybody goes back to, he took the New England to 11-5.
Yep.
It's like, yeah, you're not taking into context the keys that he was handed. 11-5 to a team that won 18 straight.
Right.
And went to the bowl. You went 11-5 and missed the playoffs. That's an extreme drop-off.
Yeah.
And even Matt Castle was better than Tebow as a pro.
Right.
He never actually played in college. Mm-hmm. He sat all 4 years at USC behind, he was behind Matt Leinart.
Oh, wow. What a name, dude.
Yeah, he was behind Leinart. He might have been behind Palmer in the beginning. Okay. I can't remember when he actually came out. But he was definitely behind Matt Leinart. He never played. Came to the NFL, finally got his shot, went 11-5, went to Kansas City, turned around, went 11-5 again. He actually played full seasons and got starting jobs elsewhere. Played for Minnesota, played for the Cowboys. He had a much more fruitful career than Tebow. But I guarantee you, if you start calling out names, you wouldn't think of Matt Castle. But we give Tebow all the love in life. Like, man, miss me with Tebow. Go commentate on the SEC network. College football is your lane. He was great in college football.
Oh, yeah.
Go talk about that.
Some people call, I mean, it's kind of tough for me, but some people are trying to say, like, oh, he's an all-time college QB. Like, yeah, he was good, but I mean, like, come on, guys, you know.
I mean, I wouldn't argue that.
Right.
College QBs, he is an all-time great because the college game is different. Mm-hmm. You can get away with not throwing.
Right.